There's a lot of wonderful, fun, and beautiful instruments we've made over the years. One of the most impressive instruments that we make is a double flute. We've been making these instruments since 2002, and at the time this was a unique way of making them, doing a vertical over-under configuration. The flute is designed to rest very easily on one thumb so that the player can play the flute with ease, whether playing the top flute, bottom flute, what have you. Let me just talk about what makes up a double flute and kind of the names of different parts of it before we really get going. The top flute here is obviously our top flute, and then we have our bottom flute. Then each flute is separated by saddles. So here's a saddle, and then here's a saddle. These are both made out of ebony. And there's a third saddle on this one, but there's an option with the double flute that you have. You can have it either an easy clean double or a standard double. A standard double, the mouthpiece is secured to this to both flutes. It's tenoned in and glued in place, and it's all solid. And so there's no need for this additional piece. This particular flute, it has an easy clean option, which I just use my thumbs and fingers to pull that up out, and there's brass fittings both inside the tubes and brass tubing that comes out of the mouthpiece to create that beautiful seal that allows us to put the easy clean back in. I just saw a bunch of water come out of there. So that moisture from our breath really condenses fast. It's incredible. I want to show you a little bit about how to put this in. It can be put in upside down. The mouthpiece is designed with one side that sticks up and one side that's down. The part that sticks up is supposed to go to the top flute. So if I blow into that part, I can see really quickly that the air is coming out of the top flute when I have the part that's sticking out on the right hand side. So I'll put it in that fashion. I'll put it in with the right hand mouthpiece sticking out a little bit, not delivering the air to my top flute, and just test it. Everything's out of whack, so because I've been musking around with it. So that's beautiful. Played it in what's called a drone fashion, which means simply that I have a constant note on one of the flutes, the bottom flute. I'm going to pull back this leather strap. These leather straps on the bottom flute are actually covering the finger holes of the bottom flute, and this is going to allow me to play to a different droning note than what I was playing to just a minute ago. So you can hear that it's a very, very different sound. The sound has a very different texture when we're using a different droning note on the bottom flute. And we can just keep on doing that. We can keep moving the straps around. You can move it to play in a major scale if you wanted, or you can just simply move the straps down as we go and just keep playing in the pentatonic scale. So again, just very different from the other droning notes. I'll now uncover the bottom 3 holes of the bottom flute, and this will allow me to play, I can drone still. And you can hear how different that is. Each note that I drum with on the fundamental, it creates a totally different sound. And a different song will come out of those for you, or different songs will come out of each of those different droning notes as you play around with the instrument. Then the other thing, and this is really my favorite way to play it, which is as a double flute, where I play one hand in the down position and one hand in the top position. And when I do this, my top hand can open and close holes without my bottom hand opening and closing holes, because they're separate flutes. And also I can use my bottom hand independently too. So very, very cool. Lots of fun different ways that the instrument can be played. And there's lots of different materials that we can make these instruments out of. This particular flute is actually about a $5,000 flute. And so obviously it has a lot of inlay on it, and carvings and a lot of things that take time. So, but I want you to be able to understand a little bit about how the pricing of a double flute works, so that as you're considering different options, you can be making those considerations with the information that you need. And so currently in 2019, the cost for a double flute is the price of each separate flute plus $400 to do the joinery. That's to provide the saddle here, and a mouthpiece that's attached to the flutes. So, for example, if you wanted the lowest price G flute that we make, that would be a Cedar Classic, and you want that as a double. The Cedar Classic is $320. Twice, that's $640, plus the $400 makes it $1,040 as a total, $1,040. And so you get a really quick, you're able to get a sense of what kind of the lower end of the double flute price points are. And then the price just goes from there. It just depends on the instrument. You can use any of the classics to build a double flute. You could use I think one of the most phenomenal double flutes for making classics for making a double flute out of would be the Sunrise Classic, made of the Osage orange. It's a really powerful wood, really, really present, and that classic in a G, for example, normally sells for $660. So double that, you're now at $1,320 for the flute, the 2 flutes, and then you add the $400 to do the joinery. You're now at $1,720 for the total of the flute. And then now the idea of an easy clean at that higher price point. This is when the idea of this easy clean really becomes important, in my opinion, because you get quite a bit invested in an instrument. You want it to be able to last, you want to be able to clean it out and keep care of it. And so the way I make my double flutes with easy clean mouthpiece, which is an additional $300, is I have brass tubings that go into the flute mouthpiece, and also brass tubing that goes into the flutes themselves. These fit together and in an airtight way, so when I take it off, I'm able to blast out the moisture from the mouthpiece. I'm able to tap and dry the insides of the slow air chamber of both flutes. And so I have access basically to everything that I need in order to clean this instrument. As long as I'm removing the totems, or at least sliding them forward and allowing everything to breathe and dry, then this instrument's going to last for a long, long time without any troubles, which is obviously something I would like personally out of my own instruments. So this helps. This is helpful in that regard. When you start getting up in price a little bit on the double flute, then the Easy Clean mouthpiece really is an awesome, awesome option. There's more information here on this website. This video is designed for this new website on our Wood Sounds webpage regarding double flutes in particular. If you have any questions about double flutes, I'd love to talk with you about them. There's a lot of different configurations you can do with a double flute. This particular configuration is a low E and a low E, so both the same pitch. So same pitch double flute is the most common double flute that I make, and it's also the most versatile, and it's easier to play, but it also, because the notes are all down in the same sort of range, the harmonies that you get out of the intervals are really poignant. They tend to be more powerful than they are if those are an octave apart. For example, I can have a double flute that has a low flute on the bottom and a high flute on the top, and then that instrument I can drone with it and play it as a double, just like I have this one. Plus, I could also remove the straps from all of the holes on the bottom flute and play a song on the bottom flute and then shift up to the top flute to go up into an upper register for the song. You know, a good example for something like that would be like Danny Boy. It gives you easy access to being able to play Danny Boy, for example, on a high-low double. There's other configurations too. We do a double that's a fifth apart. This is a lot less people do this because it takes a lot more brain power, frankly, just going when you're trying to play. It's you got to really be thinking about what you're doing and what you're trying to create to avoid the difficult parts. So that kind of a flute would basically be a low E on the bottom and an A, mid A on the top, or a similar sort of interval to make that high-low double, or that double that's fifth part. So also do make a triple flute that is two flutes of the same pitch and then one flute an octave higher. That flute is really interesting. We've made a lot less of those than we have double flutes. I probably have only made maybe 4 or 5 triple flutes. Those are a real rarity, but we still make them. Would be delighted to make one for you. It gets to be a lot of instrument when you get into that triple flute, but we designed the mouthpiece on it and everything to really make it a useful musical instrument and not just a novelty. So I'm happy to talk with you at any time if you have any questions. My name again is Brent, 801-822-1415, or you can reach me at brent@woodsounds.com. That's Brent at woodsounds.com. Have a super day.